Fear of the unknown is the greatest fear of all. The less we know, the scarier the idea is. Nothing captures this concept quite as well as the original Backrooms image and story. I'm not going to read it to you, because you know it already. It feels like I already covered the Backrooms from front to back, so today I want to take a step back and appreciate the original Backrooms, the idea and story that started it all. And why not do it in iceberg format? The original photo and story. On May 12, 2019, a 4chan post was created named Unsettling Images, requesting people to post disquieting images that just feel off. The picture used in the post was none other than the original Backrooms photo. This thread contains a lot of cool photos, many of which can be recognized as liminal spaces. While interesting, none of them came close to the first photo. This image was later reused in another post, which presumably started the Backrooms. 2 days later, on May 14th, the image was reposted with a story starring the lore. This became popular rather quickly and spawned subreddits, creepypastas, memes, stories and theories, all due to this one image. It is quite amazing how much of this story and image impacted the internet. Let's go over everything we know about this dimension. The walls are made out of yellow wallpaper. The carpet is moist and has a revolting smell. You can hear the lights buzzing and they seem to be always on. The area of this dimension seems to be either infinite or close to 3 times the surface of the Earth. The post also suggests that you might or might not be alone in this dimension. This is all we know, leaving a lot of room for the unknown, the real horror of the Backrooms. This text and photo is perfect, and no extra lore will ever get to this level of dread. What could be as dreadful as the Backrooms is exposing your internet traffic to unwanted third parties. And that's why the people over at Surfshark were kind enough to sponsor me. Surfshark VPN keeps you safe on the internet as it encrypts your information and hides your IP address. If this doesn't already sound good enough, Surfshark is providing us with an 83% discount, plus 3 extra months for free if you use code DEMON. Besides safety, Surfshark VPN makes it so I can watch way more content on streaming services than I normally can. Sure, Netflix has cool content, but sometimes it just lacks that one movie you really want to watch. If one of my favorite horror movies like Midsommar is unavailable, I can use Surfshark to change my location to, for instance, the United Kingdom. And there we go, this version of Netflix does have Midsommar. What I like most about Surfshark is that it's more than just a VPN, as it has its own built-in antivirus. This will keep your device virus-free and gives you real-time protection. The built-in program is able to make a full scan of your device in order to check for any dangerous data. Surfshark can do this and so much more, so be safer on the internet and get Surfshark VPN now with an 83% discount plus 3 extra months for free when using code DEMON. Thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring me, and let's continue to the next topic. Original aesthetic. The aesthetic of the Backrooms is an extremely recognizable one. The most obvious and prevalent one is of course the liminal space aesthetic. I made a long video about this phenomenon, so if you're interested, definitely check this out. Liminal spaces are the essence of nostalgia. They're weird, unsettling, disturbing, and calming for some. Images like this want to tell a story, but can't. They tell you just enough to feel unsettled, but not enough to be familiar. This aesthetic has been growing since the beginning of the Backrooms lore, and it has been reinvented countless of times, far beyond what the Backrooms ever was. Another aesthetic that the original Backrooms bears is one of the surreal. The image holds a mix of fact and fantasy at the same time. It feels unusual. You can see the effectiveness of this aesthetic whenever you visit Google Images and type Backrooms. It will be quite hard to actually find the original photo, and you will be left with thousands of Backrooms related photos that all depict the same lighting, carpet and wallpaper. While these images look very familiar, we have yet to find an actual image that was taken inside of the same building of the original photo, given the original photo was actually taken inside of a real building. Early subreddit. The Backrooms spawned a myriad of new subreddits. Most popular of them is r/Backrooms, but it has kinda spiraled out of control, along with Backrooms extended lore related websites. That being said, the subreddit has had some really interesting posts that should definitely not be overlooked at. A subreddit that I like a bit better than this one is r/the Backrooms. The posts on this one hold more close to the original photo and lore, without expanding the lore too much. Simplicity. It is quite hard to overlook the genius that is the simplicity of the original backrooms. It just works for me. The feeling and fear you get with liminal spaces seems to be perfectly described in the first backrooms post, as you get the feeling you're stuck in an endless maze while reading the post. The backrooms and media like it feel like a breath of fresh air in an era where all media is so overly complex. Some stories don't need extremely developed characters or extricate world building. Simplicity can be the purest form of horror, as minimalism directly confronts us with our fears, leaving no room for other distractions. Lore ideas. As said earlier, the lore behind the original backrooms is quite simple. It's a gigantic maze with yellow wallpaper and a yellow carpet. If we go to the Backrooms Wikidot, a pretty well-known lore-related website, we can find a lot more about this dimension. The Wikidot calls this dimension Level 0, or the tutorial level. It is also noted that if you were to walk in a straight line, you would not return to your starting point. GPS locators fail in here, and radio communications become distorted. In the Backrooms fandom, Level 0 is known as the Lobby. As with the version on the Wikidot, the lobby is non-Euclidean, meaning that standard real-world geometry is not applicable. It is also noted that no two rooms will ever be the same. This is something that is not true for every version of the original Backrooms, but I like the concept. On Liminal Archives, the original Backrooms is known as the Halls. The size of the halls is unknown, but it appears to be a glitch in reality, as with all instances. It contains rooms with gigantic cylindrical shafts and sometimes has eroded caverns underneath the carpet. The fairly new Timeless Places calls this dimension Static Yellow. I believe that this site describes the backrooms in the eeriest way, so I'll read it from the site. A stagnant musty odor fills the air. The ground below, tan yellow moist carpet, covers the floor. Ahead, the walls second both the mono yellow color palette and source of the smell. Coated with patterned wallpaper, lined with wooden trim and occasional power outlet done and on. Overhead, a soft hum buzz emits. Fluorescent lights placed in a grid-like fashion brighten up the room with a white tone. Furniture, appliances and such shall appear absent, the room left completely empty. As you can see, all of these instances are pretty similar with a few differences here and there. I still prefer the original story, but these are definitely interesting too and all evoke the same feeling. Connections to the backrooms. How do you enter the backrooms? The most common idea is no clipping out of reality, meaning you surpassing the boundaries of our real world. The idea is intriguing as it supports the idea that we live inside the Matrix, a simulated reality. The backrooms is often regarded as a debug area, a place that is meant for finding and detecting potential errors in the code. But how would one no-clip? Common ideas include finding a discolored wall or entering an out-of-place door. What often seems to happen in backrooms related stories is that people enter the backrooms by accident. Extra levels. Alright, so this is where things get a little blurry. The backrooms is usually not seen as one level by these lore websites, but as the first or starting level. While obviously extremely interesting, this somewhat ruins the fear of the unknown. I do like the addition of level 1 and level 2 as they don't stray away too far from the original. Level 1 is like level 0 but with more flickering lights and sometimes non-existent lights. And level 2 consists out of long claustrophobic maintenance halls. If we take a look at the Wikidot, we see that they have a space for at least 1,000 levels, but not all of them are written yet. Some levels here and there have really interesting ideas, many that I also covered in my Backrooms Iceberg video. They for instance have a level that is one giant chessboard, with its own interesting rules and gimmicks. Or take level 789 for instance, which is literally a play on the joke "Why was 6 afraid of 7?" You can see why so many people love and appreciate this website, myself included, but it just does not feel like the original Backrooms. I like to feel these things as two different dimensions, whereas the original Backrooms is this alternate reality liminal horror landscape, and the Wikidot is more like a spin-off of the SCP Foundation, except with rooms and areas instead of entities or creatures. And I feel like that's more than fair. I support both versions and hope more cool articles get written on the Wikidot and other sites, as this aesthetic is a great basis for interesting horror. Entities. According to the original post, you're not alone in the backrooms, or that's what it wants us to believe. The lore websites describe creatures in the backrooms as entities, and I don't really like the amount of detail they give them. While I don't mind there being some form of entity in this dimension, I do believe that its main focus should be atmospheric horror, as with most liminal spaces. Entities aren't all bad, but should remain very mysterious and should rarely be shown. The 1999 found footage horror movie, named The Blair Witch Project, does this exceptionally well. The entity the three friends are seeking out, the Blair Witch, is never shown in the movie. You can feel her presence, and the characters experience the horror she causes, but the viewer never learns what the Blair Witch actually looks like. This is what the backrooms should be. The existence of entities is fine, but they should never be directly explained. Mapping of the backrooms. There was one period on the Backrooms subreddit where it became very popular to try to map the backrooms. None of the maps made were actually canon, but it's definitely fun to look at. The maps that were made were supposed to show how and where to find exits, as they are supposedly very difficult to find, if they even exist in the first place. Larger and more intricate maps exist too, as these are supposed to not only map the original backrooms, but also the entire system of levels from the extended lore. Liminal Archives does it in a very cool looking way, as they visualize their levels as nested fractals. You can travel between these fractals, leading you deeper and deeper into this alternate dimension. This visual represents a Mentor sponge, which nests infinities within one another. Possible inspirations. The Backrooms feels a lot like SCP-3008. SCP is a fictional organization that holds different anomalies that have wildly unique stories. SCP-3008 was written on May 4th, 2017, and tells the story of a building that resembles a giant empty IKEA store. The building exceeds physical boundaries and thus might be infinite. There are also humanoid entities inside of the building. They resemble humans with inconsistent bodily proportions and wear IKEA uniforms. When entered, it is extremely hard to exit the building. There are multiple exits, but they do not have a fixed position. As you can see, there's a lot of resemblance between this and the concept of the Backrooms. I feel like the original Backrooms is a more fleshed out story that describes the fear that SCP-3008 is trying to convey. And IKEA is also very fitting for the Backrooms aesthetic, as it can definitely feel like a surreal maze at times. IKEA has also been described as one enormous liminal space by many, and I agree. These showrooms hold a certain weird but interesting atmosphere that feels like home, but not completely. It's comfortable, but you don't have the feeling that you're walking through an actual house. If you're a fan of the Backrooms, you might be familiar with the Stanley Parable. The Stanley Parable is an indie game that was released in 2013 and follows Stanley, a worker who all of a sudden finds himself completely alone in his office. The game features a lot of philosophical questions about free will and has its own contradictions and paradoxes. Like IKEA, the game is basically one giant liminal space, as you never escape the empty and lonely aura that the game inhabits. It therefore feels like you're stuck in a simulation or an alternate reality, one that feels surprisingly similar to the Backrooms. There are a lot of movies that have a Backrooms-esque feeling to it. A few notable ones are Being John Malkovich and The Shining with their liminality, Twin Peaks with its Red Room, and Us with its alternate reality similar to that of Twin Peaks. I'm going to set these aside for now, and we'll talk about one of my favorites, Vivarium. This film might not be as good as some on the list, but I do feel like it is somewhat underrated and misunderstood. There are a lot of aspects in Vivarium that genuinely creep me out, and the neighborhood is one of them. The film follows a couple looking for a new place to live. After meeting with a somewhat off-putting real estate agent, he insists in showing them a suburban neighborhood in which all the houses look identical, both in their exterior and interior. When the real estate agent suddenly disappears, the couple seems to be stuck in this neighborhood with no way out. Trying to leave it will loop them back. Vivarium is described as the horror of nothing. A couple is unable to leave, the food they get delivered inside a box tastes like nothing, and there really is nothing to do. There's a lot more to Vivarium, and it definitely serves as an interesting metaphor. As you can see, the concept of liminal alternate reality is not something new, but the Backrooms certainly improved on the idea. Jared Pike. In 2021, the dream pool aesthetic really took off. And I would now even consider it as an alternate reality Backrooms. On April 29th, 2021, a post was made on r/liminal space titled Dream Pool by Jared Pike. This post depicted multiple artworks from this artist, all which are quite incredible to look at. Described as calming for some and nightmarish for others, Dream Pools, or the Pool Rooms, is an oppressive spin-off on the liminal space aesthetic. Jared Pike's artwork spawned the idea for the Pool Rooms, which would now be this endless maze of flooded hallways, resembling some sort of abandoned swimming pool. I'm a big fan of this aesthetic, as it gives me so much nostalgia. I want to explore this maze, but I'm also a bit scared of it. Edited photo. As with most liminal spaces, it has always been believed that the original photo was photoshopped. The angle of which a photo is taken is weird. It is also likely that the photo was yellow shifted, as the normalized version looks a lot more real and less intimidating than one we all know and love. Google Earth. On March 22nd, 2022, a Reddit user posted an image of Google Maps that shows the Backrooms, alongside a giant cylindrical hole titled, "What the hell did I just find on Google Earth?" The coordinates for this place were shown, and it turned out you were actually able to go there on Google Maps when you entered a strange place in Japan. You are unfortunately now unable to view this area, as it has been taken down by Google. 4 days prior to this post, another person found a similar 3D image of the Backrooms in California. This instance had writing on the wall saying, "Don't search or you'll sink." Then later another one was found in Florida. All of these instances had this small robot in them named Billy the Robot. These 3D images are unfortunately not real and part of a French ARG. Limbo is described as an uncertain period of awaiting a decision or resolution, an intermediate state or condition. In Christian beliefs, limbo is an afterlife condition for those who die in sin but are not assigned to hell. Limbo is being stuck, unable to move, almost as if you're in another dimension, like the Backrooms. There is this idea that the Backrooms is an accurate description of what limbo looks and feels like, as it totally takes you away from our real world. Certain recognizable things are still there, like lights or wallpaper, but the structure and purpose of everything is gone. The Backrooms is like a world that lost all function, purpose and will. The only thing left to do is wonder. I am aware of the fact that there is a lot of hatred and division in the Backrooms community. I like the extended lore, hell, I made a whole video about it. What I don't like is when people take this lore too far. I love more than several levels that have been written, as these articles and pages are just really good writing. Now, let's appreciate the original Backrooms just one more time. There's just something special about it. We will never get to relive the feeling we once felt when looking at this image. At the time it didn't feel like it, but what the Backrooms once was felt like peak internet horror. I hope that we can create more interesting fiction like this and explore more fears that are deeply hidden inside us. Like I said, fear of the unknown is the greatest fear of all. Finding that unknown is where our best ideas and stories lie. Thank you for watching.